And welcome to a new edition of the Red Mountain Express. This is episode 55, if I do so recall. Glad to be back here with Matthew Joyner, who has been gone from the show for about a week or two.
Well, but we missed a week, and then last week I wasn't here,
right.
So that's 2 solid weeks.
And then Patrick's not here, though.
Yeah, it's like we're never going to – are we just going back to two-man format and then with a rotating second chair?
I hope not. Maybe, what would you say today, like we were on that text chain, maybe someday we'll all be back together again?
I was doing some country music lyrics.
That's a country music song, yeah. How's your week going?
Well, it's Tuesday, so it's kind of too early to tell.
How did last week go?
It went fine. Everything's good. I got no complaints.
See, you're making things difficult today, and
That's what I do.
I don't understand. It's 8:00 at night. I'm tired. It's been a long 2 days.
That's why God gave us caffeine.
That is true. That's true. I've had 3 cups of coffee today, so it's been good. But no, we are glad to be back. We have a few stories for us today. We also have a guest in the studio today. It's Marylyn Eubank with the M&O Nail Library. She is actually listening to us right now. Please say hello.
Hello, everyone.
So please chime in if we get off topic and keep us on the rails, because if I mention Christmas or Matthew mentions anything nerdy, this can get bad quickly.
I'm a librarian, but I'm not here to shush. So,
well, so Matthew, let's get into the news real quick. So apparently, construction is moving forward on the Jefferson County, the new stadium. They've closed off a couple roads to kind of get the construction underway. Is that right?
Right. So the city council voted today to close 23rd Street North and 11th Avenue North, as well as some interior alleys around, just to aid in construction, have room to move around. I don't know if they actually closed those today or if that's just an imminent closing, but be aware if you're moving around in that area, those streets are going to be closed if they're not already.
I'm ready for that stadium to get built. I mean,
2020, it won't be too long.
No, like we're coming up on football season, in a couple years, it'll be hustling and bustling down there for folks to get into the UAB game. So it's going to be good.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
And, we're actually starting to see progress. I mean, we've broke ground on a stadium in Birmingham, I think 3 or 4 times in the last 20 years. This time it's actually happening. So some good news.
Yeah.
Other good news, at least in my opinion, is that we are getting a new deli in Birmingham. A new deli downtown near Railroad Park. It is going to be, is it Marylyn Deli? Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. It's going to be in the former urban kitchen space on 1701 First Avenue South.
Where Cosecha was.
Yeah.
Cosecha Urban Kitchen, so this is a bittersweet story for me because I really enjoyed Cosecha. Or Coseca, I'm not sure.
See, it was so good you didn't even know the name of the place.
I am terrible at pronunciations, as anybody that listens.
What kind of food?
It was kind of like a street food Mexican type thing. They had different, like you get street corn. They had a lot of Coneca dishes, which may be why I had such a love for the place, because I'm a huge Coneca fan. It did not last very long there, and I'm not exactly sure why. But I'm excited to see this place coming. It's a Jewish deli, which I've been to a few in New York. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of delis anyway, but I'm a fan of like true Jewish delis with give me some strong bread options and some meat and just give it to me.
Pastrami, some matzo ball soup, man. There used to be a place over in the Colonnade called Max's Delicatessen, and I used to love that place. I mean, it was fantastic. This one is going to be opening. Did it say when it was going to be opening? I think we're kind of.
I don't think they have an opening date. So they have hired Joel Titelman. Joel Tiedemann is the owner, the founder, and they have hired Adam Grusin, who used to work at Chez Fonfon.
Which is another great place to eat.
They hired him earlier this year. So they've had him in the wings waiting to get everything going. Their Nashville location, which is the only other southern location they have, opened back in March. So I imagine that they're moving pretty quickly on this. The AL.com article did not give a date.
Well, as soon as that place opens, I'm sure we will go try it, and then we'll let everybody know how it tastes. So I'm excited.
That is exciting. We need some Jewish deli here in Birmingham.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm excited for any good food that moves to Birmingham. We have the new barbecue place that's going to be opening in the old Saigon Noodle, which we talked about last week. Oh, you weren't here. That's
I wasn't
right.
here.
You weren't here. This is, Birmingham's a great food city. And they've got some good talent coming into that place. The chef, used to work at Chez Fonfon, which I've been to. Have you been there, Matthew?
It's been a few years, but yeah, I've been there.
Did you get the burger?
I did get the burger.
Of course you did.
It was a great burger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Marylyn, you ever been there?
I have. I had the crab cakes, and I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I had some crab cakes this past week.
I bet you did.
It was really good. Yeah. All right, so we'll keep you updated on that story. keeping it on kind of food and beverage, a new brewing company is going to open, which is like number 12 or 13 in the city. This is going to be opening in Trussville in the entertainment district. It's called Slag Heat Brewing. A seasonal rotation of beers. They have a red Irish ale, a double IPA, some pale ales, an English beer pub, and they also have a homemade root beer, which I love. So they're also going to plan to host some food trucks. So this will be opening on September 1st. Yeah. So here in the next couple days. So check that out in Trussville. Matt, you were telling me something about the Bill Gates and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation donating some money to the Jefferson County School District.
Right. So the Jefferson County school system recently received a $1.1 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation through the Southern Regional Education Board. Now, this money is going to be used to try and launch a network of algebra proficiency in 10 local schools, the secondary schools. Their focus is on increasing algebra proficiency in rates of Black, Latino, low-income students in 8th grade math and 9th grade algebra. So that's exciting. That's a lot of money coming to the school system that it has no strings attached to it. They can put it towards that, and I'm excited about that, Matt. It's not something you expect to see, just a sudden injection of money from somebody like Bill and Melinda Gates, who normally send their money overseas, it seems like.
Yeah, and from the article on the Biz Journal that says it's going to be like spread out over like 13 different schools too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I read 10, I thought.
Is it 10?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of schools.
So I have the
double
schools,
digits.
I have the schools here. So Corner High School, Corner Middle School, Minor Middle School, Minor High School, Bragg Middle School, Irwin Middle School, Gardendale High School, Oak Grove High School, Irondale Middle School, Shades Valley High School, Hueytown High School, and Centerpoint High School.
I think that's 12.
You got 12?
I think
All right. There's also going to be a second and a third part to this grant to the Education Board. So in full, it's going to be $3.3 million, which will also include funding for a rural improvement network to help boost school achievement.
It's a good story.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's great. I'm glad it's going towards something like algebra. As a student who has never been good at math, I don't know that it was from a lack of money in our school system at the time, but
mine was just a lack of effort.
It could have been that, laziness. Maybe I'm just really bad at math. I was a great reader. Focusing on that, putting money towards those programs, helping these kids learn that skill, that's a skill that can be applied through a lot of the higher level STEM courses that we have, or that we're seeing popularity grow in these days. Engineering, computer science, and the type of stuff that I talk about often on this show, wanting to see improve and be utilized in this state as well as the city.
Well, so you have Apple coming in to do the code training. You have Microsoft making a donation to
Bill and Melinda Gates.
Bill and Melinda Gates. Well, it's Microsoft. It's just
not any. I mean,
yeah, you're right. It's them, but he made his money from Microsoft. They came in, so I think Dell and some other IT companies had come in and make some investments as well. You know what I mean?
I mean, anybody that wants to give us money.
Yeah, and then Amazon's in town now, so I'm just saying, we're. I mean, did you see I think there was a Wall Street Journal article, or maybe it was there was an article about how Birmingham is trying to become the Silicon Valley of the South.
I did see that.
Yeah.
I actually passed that around with a few of my friends. In the article, I'm glad that the article was written. I'm glad there was a reason for the article to be written. If you did not read it, and I'll post a link in our show notes, I don't have it handy. If you did not read the article, though, basically the author mentioned how Birmingham is growing its skill set for coding, and we're getting more technological jobs in the area. However, I do have complaints about the way the article was written. It came off as very kind of looking down your nose at us while you're writing the article.
Condescending.
Condescending may come off a little bit too strong, but if you read the article, you may agree with me. You may disagree. Basically, towards the end, the statement was made to sound like, isn't it kind of cute how they're trying, but it's never going to happen, that kind of thing. So that's bothersome. Again, the fact that you had to write the article about us means that we're doing something right. We're moving forward. We're getting noticed that we have tech sector jobs. But yeah, it was kind of a double-sided sword.
Double-edged sword?
Yeah.
So here's the last paragraph you talked about. Overall, it's a pretty good summation of Alabama's tech scene. They're not quite there yet. They know it, but dang it, they're going to go to work hard, and they're going to just give them a little. Sorry. They're going to work hard, and if you just give them a little time, patience, support, they pinky promise swear they'll come up with something rather special.
Yeah, the pinky promise swear bit right there is what kind of gives you that, like, this person's being a little bit sarcastic. And I get it, but also, come on.
Well, sometimes it's good for us to keep Birmingham on the down low a little bit. We don't want everybody in on the secret here.
I agree with that.
And I just wanted to add, too, Google has sponsored some technology training and workshops at libraries around the state in the last couple of weeks. I think Birmingham Public Library had a big event with Google.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I had not heard that. That's really good.
See? Now Google's moving into town. Just saying.
Well, we've got a Google data center just in Huntsville right there, so that's not too far away from where they might look for hiring pools. So that's...
You going to go work for Google now?
No.
Well, let's take a little break. Let's hear about our friends over at Beach and Woodworks. When we come back, we'll talk with Marylyn Eubank about what's going on at the public library here in Mountain Brook. We also have a little new segment coming up from Happenings in the Ham, kind of go over what's some upcoming events in Birmingham. So we'll be right back. Beach and Woodworks is a locally owned and operated wood shop in Birmingham, Alabama, specializing in custom furniture and small home goods. Chris and K&M Beecham create a wide variety of unique pieces of all sizes, ranging from cutting boards to farmhouse tables. Using wood sourced from Alabama sawmills, Beach and Woodworks creates affordable, quality pieces that will be a one-of-a-kind fixture for your home. So support your local woodworker and visit redmountainexpress.com/woodworks or check them out on their Facebook and Instagram accounts. Beach and Woodworks, turning your house into a home. And we are back with the second half of the Red Mountain Express. So, Matthew, I was in New Orleans this past weekend.
I'm aware, and not only am I aware, but I want to make sure that everybody knows this was your first trip to New Orleans.
So, sort of, kind of, as an adult. So, I was born in Lafayette, Louisiana. My parents lived there and Morgan City, and I think in Baton Rouge as well. They're both from Alabama. They just happened to move there for my dad's job. I was born in Lafayette. My brother was born in Morgan City. So when I was in elementary school, we'd go back and visit some of my dad's and mom's friends. And so one time we did go through New Orleans, and I got to see the Superdome, and that was cool. So that was the one time I went to New Orleans.
So this is your first time to New Orleans?
This is my first time in New Orleans, yeah. Did everything that, you hear everybody wants to do. Went down Bourbon. That was interesting.
What time of day?
We went down in the middle of the day, and then we went down there at night. And we were coming back through at night.
Did you notice a difference? No?
I mean, it was packed.
The last time I went, during the day, it was really quiet. There wasn't really a whole lot going on. At night, it was nuts.
No. It was nuts during the day, and it was nuts at night. But I was also there on the weekend, so that's probably the big part of it. Had some great food. We went to, of course, Café Du Monde for breakfast. And
of course.
Had some beignets and some a cafe au lait. Even though that's not what I ordered, I wanted just black coffee, and she said cafe au lait. I was like, no, black coffee, and she was like, no, cafe au lait. And I should have listened to her because it was really good.
Yeah.
And then we also went to. Well, let me preface this by saying I asked a ton of people that I knew that have either lived in New Orleans or spent a lot of time in New Orleans. One of them is Patrick's wife, and a friend of mine named Gary Crosby, who went to law school in New Orleans and also taught in the Ninth Ward, and asked them for recommendations for food. And everybody said Giacomo's for dinner. And it's in the Carrollton area, I think it's in Carrollton area of New Orleans, kind of near Uptown. And so we got out of the cab, and we were walking up, and there was like a ton of people on Oak Street, which is where this restaurant's located. And we were like, what in the world's going on? It was their Midsummer Mardi Gras.
Oh.
And it was the crew or the crew of Oak or something like that. And they had this huge Mardi Gras march. Went and had dinner at Giacomo's. We had the shrimp and sausage cheesecake for an appetizer, which was the best thing I've ever had in my life. Had some good redfish, had some good drinks, but overall it was really, really good. And also went to the World War II Museum, which was fantastic.
I saw your Instagram pictures.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome.
I feel like if you go to a museum, you're not supposed to wear the museum pieces.
But they let you do that. Yeah, so I walked in, and they had like all this gear out. And they're like, hey, go ahead and try it on, put it on. And I said, so is this a replication helmet? And they're like, no, that's real. It was used. And it was really heavy.
I was about to say about 20, 30 pounds, you feel like?
I'm telling you what. I could tell it would a bullet couldn't pierce that thing.
It's a neck workout, putting it on.
I'm telling you what. So New Orleans was great. We really enjoyed it. I think I'm probably still tired from that. But no, a good trip all around.
Awesome, man. I'm glad. I was excited for you because I've been several times. I was born in that area, but of course we didn't spend there any time there as a family when I was a kid. We moved to Columbiana when I was still really young, but several times as an adult I've gone. We did our honeymoon there, and I love New Orleans. I've never eaten at a bad place there.
Yeah,
like a local place.
All was good food. The one interesting thing about New Orleans that I found that I thought Birmingham should really do is that they have a trolley system in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, man, if they did something like that started South Side, went down to Uptown and maybe out to Avondale and make that little loop, I think it would be. I think that would be a really big thing for Birmingham. I think it would be successful and people would love it because public transportation is something that we're lacking here in Birmingham. I would say, at least popular public transportation. So it was really cool. I mean, it was. You got to see a lot of the city when you were going through the city on the trolleys, and something I kind of came back with. I was like, man, that's something that we should do here. So anyway, New Orleans trip was great.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've got football season coming up.
Yes,
Auburn's playing Washington this week. Is that right?
I believe that is right.
Yeah, 2:30 on ABC. Auburn's playing Washington. Washington's highly ranked, so is Auburn. It's going to be a barn burner, so check in on that. My lovely Alabama Crimson Tide will be playing the University of Louisville at 7 p.m., and so we are kind of ready for that game. So
I think Louisville's ready for that game too.
They've been talking some trash, so we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. And usually, if you talk trash, it means you're running scared, in my opinion.
It really depends. It's too early to tell.
That's
and if
true.
they're still talking trash 4 or 5 games from now and they've not really been winning, then yeah, you can say that. But now they may have something.
At that point, you're not really talking trash. You're just
you're just talking.
You're just talking. Yeah. So we have a new segment before we get into our interview with Miss Marylyn Eubank. Is we have talked with the folks at Happenings in the Ham. We did an interview with them early on in our show.
Yeah, episode 3 or 4.
3 or 4. Yeah. And they have decided to send us over a list of some upcoming events in Birmingham. So I'm going to they would send this to us when? This past?
They sent it to us this morning. Of course, they compile their stuff and have their website updated usually by Wednesday night, I think, or Wednesday morning. Russell was kind enough to send me a large list of all the stuff coming up this weekend. I've picked out a small selection of the list he sent me, just stuff I wanted to highlight for the days of the weekend coming up or the end of the week as this show's coming out. If you want more information on these events or if you want to see the other events that are happening around town, be sure to go to their website. That's happeningsintheham.com. And, of course, I will link that from our show notes.
Yeah. So, UAB and Savannah State are playing here in Birmingham at Legion Field. I think it's $13 at the gate. They will be playing at 3 p.m., I believe.
So there's a food truck rally on the west side of Legion Field that's going to start at 3 p.m., and then the game begins at 7.
Gotcha.
And this is UAB's season opener. So if you're not doing anything on Thursday, I know the show's coming out Thursday, so you're listening to this, and you might already have plans, but if you don't.
And they're going to kill Savannah State.
I'm sure.
They're going to kill Savannah
if they
State.
play anywhere close to what they played last year.
They're
going to
kill them. Yeah. Fresh Ground Comics is the next thing on the list. It's going to be this Friday at 8 p.m. It's at Urban Standard, stand-up comedy showcase. So come for comedy, coffee, beer, wine, and some cupcakes. And I think it's $5 at the door.
It's $5 at the door.
Yeah.
Right.
This one is I'm actually very interested in. It's free fencing. It's Saturday, September 1st from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's free. It's the Birmingham Fencing Club. If you've ever wanted to try out the sport of fencing, here's your chance. So go to fencingclub.org/classes.
Right.
That's going to be cool. I would love to do that.
Have you ever done anything like that?
No.
All right. So when Laura and I lived in Huntsville.
Of course you've done this.
We actually took several classes at the beginner level. I think we took 8 classes total from a school called Sal de Bosco. It was this older man who lived in Huntsville. He was... had been doing fencing what seemed like all of his life. He was probably in his mid-70s when we were doing classes with him. Spoke with a heavy accent that I couldn't quite place, so you knew he was authentic, or you felt like it.
The funny thing is he talked like that, and then he walked out, and he was like, he was from Clanton, Alabama.
He was from Huntsville. No, the classes are great. I've always enjoyed the idea of fencing, of course. What you see in the movies or on TV that image doesn't always meet reality.
So you're telling me, was it I Love You Man? You know, the fencing scenes in that? You ever seen I Love You
Yeah,
Man?
oh yeah.
Those are really funny.
Yeah, so you get there and you don't know quite what to expect, but me and my wife both went, and he had us facing each other, and of course that added an extra element of, can I really hit my wife with a sword? Well, the answer to that is sometimes. She was actually pretty good at it as well, so she poked me probably more times than I got to stab her. It was extremely fun. It was educational. It required a certain amount of attention and patience, but I strongly encourage you, if you have any inkling or just want to see what fencing is really about, like as an actual sport, go. I've seen the Birmingham Fencing Club has been on Reddit several times in the past couple of months posting about these classes, the Birmingham subreddit, so I know they're doing them repeatedly, or at least for a while. So go check out that fencingclub.org/classes, or check out the link from Happenings in the Ham, and go check it out, man. It's fun. It's an experience, and you might really find out you enjoy it.
Yeah. I don't have the address here on in my notes, but we'll make sure we have that in our show notes. The final thing is the iPush Foodie and Music Festival. It's only available for those that are 21 and up. It's this Sunday, September 2nd. $10 or a $35 VIP pass. It's on 19th Street in Inslee. There's going to be a wide variety of food vendors, trucks ranging from down-home soul to Caribbean African dishes, as well as desserts and pastries. And so that sounds like it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you to Happenings in the Ham for doing that. You can check out more stuff that's going on in Birmingham at happeningsintheham.com, and we will have the full list on our show notes. Yeah. So let's get into our interview. Today on our show is Miss Marylyn Eubank. She is the head of information technology at the M. O'Neill Library here in Mount Brook, and also we are very grateful to her because she has given us a space to record. We have been jumping back and forth between my house, Matthew's house, Patrick's basement. I think we did it in the park one day.
That's right.
We have done this show pretty much everywhere in Birmingham.
Anywhere that somebody would let us sit down for a few minutes without yelling at us.
Yeah. Now, sometimes we record so long here, they turn off lights here on us, but
it's happened.
That's because we decided to record really late. So, but we're glad to have her here with us. So, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely, I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad to have y'all in our makerspace, which is the intent of this room is for creative expression. And
if that's what you're calling this, we'll take it.
Sounds good to me.
we're the base level.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So, tell us a bit about yourself. What's your background? Basically, your Birmingham story.
Sure. I grew up in Birmingham. I actually grew up here in the suburb of Mountain Brook, just about a half a mile from where I work now, which is pretty interesting. One of my coworkers has been here at the library for over 42 years.
Wow.
So that dates me a little bit, but I remember her working at the library when I was a little kid. I went away from Birmingham to college. I went to Tulane in New Orleans.
Went by there the other night. Beautiful campus.
Absolutely. I was there for about 2 years before the parental scholarship was revoked because it is not easy to study in New Orleans. But I came back to Birmingham, did an undergraduate and master's degree in sociology, which all that really does is to qualify you to go for a PhD in sociology. So tried that, didn't really work out for me, worked in a couple of other industries, and finally ended up back here in Birmingham after about 12 years away in Columbus, Ohio, and Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Came back here, took the job at the M. O'Neill Library as the information technology manager, and that's where I've been ever since.
So, as the head of information technology, correct? What is your role here on a day-to-day basis?
I tell people that anything with a plug or a battery or a computer chip or a solar panel or that has a switch of any type, I'm the person who's responsible for making sure that it works. I don't necessarily know how to make it work, but I know who to call to make it work. And I supervise a whole whopping staff of one. So there are two of us here who handle everything tech related in the library.
Gotcha. Which I know as a kid growing up, our library didn't have a whole lot of technology to it. Maybe we had a couple of computers.
Books and books.
I'm imagining that is increasing on a pretty large scale.
It is. It is one of the key things that libraries do now is provide public internet access. We started that back in the early 1990s, and then the state of Alabama got some big grants from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to, weaving it back together there. They donated or they provided a lot of the money that allowed libraries to purchase computers that could go online and really start to help bridge the digital divide in the state of Alabama.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to ask, about a month and a half ago, there was an article in Forbes. The author called into question the role of libraries in society, in modern day society, and went as far as to state that stores like Amazon and Starbucks have really replaced the roles that libraries serve.
And can I just say that the story they got beat up over the story?
And it was retracted. Pretty quickly.
Right?
Okay, yeah. But so, what do you think? Or let me rephrase this. What are your thoughts on that article and the mindset that some people have and perpetuate that libraries have become outdated and irrelevant in our modern society?
Well, it always hurts my feelings, of course, but, you have to leave your feelings at home when you're in a profession. And I think the important thing to remember is that Starbucks and Amazon, those are for-profit companies. Libraries are government institutions, and they support their local communities in very unbiased ways. All public libraries in the U.S. and also obviously in Alabama support the right to read and the Library Bill of Rights, which guarantees equal access to information for all citizens and all users of public libraries. I think we actually, libraries are increasing in significance because we provide that third space for people, like, say, a Starbucks seating area, without any strings at all. And we provide access to information in an unbiased way. We're not telling you, that this is necessarily the best selling or the most purchased book. We're purchasing our collections based on not only popularity of material, but artistic merit, literary merit, and accuracy.
And are you starting to see libraries kind of expand their role from just, it used to be libraries were just, like I said earlier, just full of books. Now you have a makerspace here now. There's meeting rooms here. I think downstairs is a big community room as well. Is that something you're seeing with more and more libraries, at least in the Jefferson County area?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's a national trend, and even an international trend is where the makerspace stuff is coming from. A lot of that from up in the Scandinavian countries is where makerspaces got their starts for libraries. But in order to remain relevant, we have to do more than offer access to books. And we feel that it's really our mission to do that. Like you said, we have conference rooms available for rent. We have a lot of what we call value-added services that, you can have an exam proctored here. We also have programs and events for families, for teenagers, and for adults.
And you hit upon something a moment ago that struck me that I don't think I've put into words in my head before, but the fact that when you go to a library, the library isn't trying to sell you on something. You can go in, peruse the books, use the internet, use the makerspace, use conference rooms. Nobody at the door is trying to say, hey, also, here's this $10 book you might like.
Exactly.
If I go to Amazon, they're trying to sell me something. If I go to Starbucks, of course, I'm buying coffee to sit in their lobby and read. This is not sure exactly where I'm going with that, but
it's a transactional experience, whereas libraries are not a transactional experience. They're a learning experience, or we hope that they're a learning experience. I mean, one of the great things about a public library is that you can check out books here that are devoted solely to the idea that government should completely be disbanded and we should have no funding for public libraries. We want you to check those books out just as much as you check out the ones that say great things about libraries.
there's some things that people don't know about, libraries, at least that I didn't know, is, you have a lot of titles in digital format, and that people can go through certain apps, such as I use Hoopla or Libby or Overdrive, and I can get books either audio format or in albums too of music. Is that done here as well?
Absolutely. There are several things, and this is a good thing for me to bring up. This is a good time to bring this up. The Emmett O'Neill Public Library is one of the libraries that's a member of the Jefferson County Library Cooperative, which pulls together all the libraries in the county. And there are some services that are available countywide to anyone who has a Jefferson County library card, and there are some services that are specific to municipalities. Our like Mountain Brook, Vestavia, Hoover, Clay, etc. JCLC.org is where you can find out. You can get your library membership card. It's free for all residents of the county. And we have things like ebooks and audiobooks through Overdrive and their app Libby. That's available to everybody in the county. Then several of the municipal libraries in the county offer Hoopla, which is music, movies, and books in both formats.
Yeah, the reason why I like Hoopla so much is that if I'm going on a road trip or if I travel for work, I like to have some good music, and I don't have to go and buy it. They have every album known to man. And you can even some of the more obscure stuff, like the Texas country stuff that I'm into. So anyway, I wanted to plug that because I loved it so much.
Well, and we appreciate it, and we want people to use these services. So, and also, if your municipality, if your government or your local city doesn't have Hoopla, talk to your library about getting it. The pricing is based on population size, and more and more libraries are starting to get these services.
So speaking of services then, and we've already probably covered some of it, what services do you see your members here at the Emmett O'Neill Library using the majority of the time?
The biggest reason that our patrons tell us that they come to the library, other than books always are going to be front and center, and we can talk about whether physical books are decreasing in significance, but it's going to be a long, long time before they do. But people really look at us as a community gathering place. It's a place where they can meet up with other people, talk to them, find out what they're interested in, what they're learning, what they're doing. We just did a survey not too long ago, and that's one of the top things that people tell us that they value, and they wish that we had more seating and spaces to visit and talk and engage with each other.
So, what does your library offer that maybe members or maybe the public may not be aware of?
Well, the makerspace is a biggie. A lot of people don't know that we have this space here that's got a 3D printer. It's got a green screen wall. It's got, even just a simple laminator. It's a space dedicated to creative expression, particularly anything that can tie into STEM and technology and STEAM. So we've got science, technology, education, and mathematics is STEM, and then STEAM is science, technology, education, arts, and mathematics. And the arts, I think, are an important thing to remember. So we've got the makerspace available that people can come in and make appointments to use this space. And another thing, people are invariably surprised that we have audio books that you can just download to your phone and take it with you and go.
I was surprised about that when I first got it. I was like, really? For free? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not for your tax dollars you're paying for it, but
but it's not Audible. It's not.
Because that's what I mean. Yeah,
it's not subscription. When you pay your property taxes in Jefferson County, and whatever,
I will happily write that check.
You get access to all of these wonderful resources, and it also allows us that if Birmingham Public Library has a book that the Emmett O'Neill Library doesn't have, we have delivery service, and we can usually get anything within the county within 2 or 3 days for you. And that's true of all the different cities.
So what kind of events you got coming up here at the Emmett
I've got a couple that I want to plug for you. One is on Tuesday, September 18th at 7 o'clock in the evening. We are partnering with the Samford Planetarium to have a stargazing event out on the library lawn. So they'll be bringing some of their big telescopes and show us some of the stuff in the sky. And we're inviting families and anyone really who wants to come and bring your own telescope if you've got one. You'll have an opportunity to look through their fancy high-powered ones. So that's one of the big things we've got coming up. And for those in the 21 and up age group, we've got the Western Wine and Food event coming up in late September. I didn't write it down. But it is, I think, the last Friday in September, and that'll be at the Birmingham Zoo. And we are the Emmett O'Neill Library is one of the beneficiaries of that event. Go and taste a bunch of great wines and foods that are available at Western, and all the proceeds go to the library and a couple of other wonderful organizations. I think the East Lake Initiative and maybe the Junior League, too. I'm not sure.
Now, something that I mentioned off the air is that now is that the Jefferson County Historical Society is doing this. They are having Mary Badham, who played Scout in To Kill a Mockingbird. They're going to have her here in October. Is that correct?
That is correct. I think it's October 11th. I'm not. And it's the Jefferson County Historical Association. And a lot of the charter members of the Jefferson County Historical Association live here in the city of Mountain Brook, and they rent our meeting room for their meetings. So that's not an official library event,
but it's
cool. Here taking place in our library, and we love the Jefferson County Historical Association. They put on some great programs every year.
So to kind of wrap it up and bring us around, I always like to ask when we have members who are involved in an organization or something that the public may be able to help out with, does the Emmett O'Neill Library utilize volunteer services?
We do. We love our volunteers. The fastest and easiest way to get involved as a volunteer at the Emmett O'Neill Library is to volunteer with our Friends group that does our big book sale annually. And if you go to our library website, which is eolib.org, and go to the support tab and find our Friends group, you can find out more about them and how to get involved, and they sort through all the book donations and find what stuff can sell and what stuff has to be discarded. They always need help with that, and we have a teen advisory board. We're always looking for members to join and volunteer to help us plan our teen programs. We like to use local teens to make that happen.
And are there any other ways that people can get involved outside of volunteer service that you can mention?
We have a lot of activities that we want people to come and join us in. We've got a brown bag lunch group every Wednesday at noon. We've got story times for all ages, Mondays through Thursdays in the mornings. Everything from newborns and they're sitting on their caregivers' laps to kindergartners and upper elementary kids reading the latest Rick Riordan book.
Matthew loves story time.
I really do. I was a book reader as a kid. I love story time and books and anything involved. That's my jam.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for giving us this beautiful space to record in.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. That's going to do it for this edition of the Red Mountain Express. Again, we want to thank Marylyn Eubank for hosting us and also joining us on the program today. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. You can also look us up on redmountainexpress.com. Leave us some comments. And also, thank you to those on Reddit who mentioned our podcast. Was it last week, Matthew?
It was a few weeks back.
Back, someone got on Reddit and asked for good podcasts in the Birmingham subreddit, and we got mentioned a couple times. So thank you very much. We really do appreciate it. So for Matthew Joyner, I'm Blake Westbrook. Patrick, we'll see you next week. This has been the Red Mountain Express.